Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Annassa. Can you hear me okay? Good, good. Okay, let's start with meditation. So take your attention inside with a deep breath. Breathe all the way down to where your energy field touches the earth. Take your attention there and hold it there no matter what. And now breathe into the space between the breaths as you drop your attention to the dirt. Hold your attention there and allow it to expand. Gently allow your attention to rise up to the tip of your tailbone. Breathe into that center. Hold your attention there. Breathe into that space and expand. If any emotion arises, begin saying Ho'oponopono to that feeling to bring it into harmony. Thank you. I'm sorry, and I love you. Drop your attention into that space at the tip of your tailbone and feel it expand. When you're ready, gently allow your attention to rise to the energy center just below your belly button. Hold your attention there as you breathe into that space between the breaths just below your belly button. Try to hold your attention there and feel for a gentle expansion of the energy. Allow your attention to rise to your solar plexus, just below the base of your rib cage in the front, but in the middle of your body. Breathe into that space. Feel it relax and expand between the breaths. Gently allow your attention to rise up to your heart center in the middle of your chest. Breathe into that space between the breaths in the center of your heart and feel it open. When you're ready, gently take your attention to your throat center. Swallow. Breathe into that space between the breaths and hold your attention in your throat center. Allow it to open and expand. Gently allow your attention to go to your third eye. Slightly above, behind, and between your eyebrows. Hold your attention there as you breathe into the center between the breaths and allow your third eye to expand. Allow your attention to rise up to the top of your head and feel a huge flower opening, covering the entire top of your head as you open to receive pranic plasma, that healing substance that heals everything it touches. Allow it to completely run through your system like you're standing under a shower of pranic plasma. Allow it to inform every cell of your body, permeating the cell membranes. All the cells are like sponges that take up pranic plasma for complete healing throughout our system. Allow this energy to flood through your system. Allow yourself to receive. Gently allow your attention to rise up to the energy center above your head. If you were to make a halo with your arms around your head, the point you're reaching for is where your fingertips would touch. Take your attention there and hold it as you breathe into the space between the breaths, which is where your fingers would touch. Now feeling for your whole energetic body from where it touches the dirt to the energy center above your head. Allow the entire bubble of your being to expand. When you're ready, gently bring your attention back to this place of connection. And we'll begin to communicate with each other. Welcome this morning. So happy to see you all. How may we serve? We welcome your questions. Brenda, anything?
So joyous to see you today.
Good morning, Nancy. What a pleasure.
Good morning.
You're looking beautiful as usual.
Thank you. So I wasn't planning on asking this right away, but I was going to formulate it better, but I will. So something has happened in the last week that has totally changed our life. I'm not free to actually tell you exactly what it is, you know, but that doesn't matter. I don't think exactly what it is, but it's amazing because what I'm doing now, my work that I'm doing, I love so much, I'm probably going to have to stop doing it. And I just, you know, the implications of this karmically, I mean, and I don't know, you know,
I think you're frozen. Is that possible?
Nancy, if you can hear, we lost your audio.
And the visual's frozen.
It was frozen.
Oh,
yes.
now you're back.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's unstable, it says. I don't know why, but okay.
So what we're getting is that what has happened is not what you feel for the highest benefit.
That what I feel, no, it's not for the highest benefit for me, for sure. That I feel. Yeah.
Yes, but is it for other people? Is this a mixed blessing that you've received?
Yeah, it might be. It might be a mixed blessing.
So
It's a hard mixed blessing.
oh. Mm. When this happens, it's time to go to the Annassa temple and recalibrate.
Okay.
The first thing that is required is just a recalibration so that you can begin to repicture your life.
Okay.
Just pull in everything.
Okay.
And you want to experience in the midst of the chaos, experience the quiet that is you, that you know very, very well. And just allow that to expand. And from the peace that you gather from that experience, questions will begin to formulate. And you'll begin to understand what's happening in a deeper way.
Okay.
Know that we are with you every step of the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so
There's
much. That means a
so
lot.
much love.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the foundation of your life, no matter what happens. It always has been and it always will be. And
Yes.
it's just gotten more as you have been growing inside yourself.
Mm. So there's one more question that I may get the answer to more quickly in the Annassa temple, but should we fight this or should we surrender?
Explore in yourself both possibilities and you'll see.
Okay.
You'll see exactly what the mixed blessing is.
Okay.
Sometimes fighting is the way to go
Mhm.
because somebody has to do it.
Mhm.
Other times, it's best to surrender because the expansion that comes from the surrender brings you a new path.
Mm. Yeah.
So this is to be discovered within you.
Okay.
And then it will all become clear. But it's not an impulsive decision to be made.
Yeah.
It's a decision to be made with thorough grounding. You know, there will be this feeling that you must act now. Do not pay attention to that feeling.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
important to really know what you want, why you want it, and where it's going to take you. And the only way to really know is to sit in the Annassa temple and try on for size each particular alternative
Okay.
and
Good.
take
Yeah.
it to its culmination, so
Okay.
you see where it will go and what it will cost.
Mhm. Mhm.
And a lot of what it, you know, of how to evaluate that cost involves what you truly want
Yeah.
and where you want to put your energy and what quality of energy is required to do whatever the opportunity is. And you will, as you feel your way into these possibilities, you'll know. You'll know in the kind of knowing way that we really work. But you want to act from the knowing that's real, that's really connected to your divine self.
Yeah.
And from that knowing, you can't go wrong. Does that make sense?
It does. Makes perfect sense.
Because we, you know, this is your life. You do what's in your highest. And, you know, there are places and times when it's really important to just ride that wave of intention as far and as hard and as, you know, and then there are other times where best to surrender
Mhm.
because there's a different opportunity that has not been seen yet.
Right.
And so these are decisions we have to make for ourselves.
Yes.
This is where our free will and our dharma, our
Mhm.
calling, this
Yeah.
is where they meet. It's really where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah. It is.
And so you decide carefully. Nobody else can make this decision for you. We can tell you how to think about it, how to go to the temple and really do your work so that you see what's right for you.
Yeah.
Because in training yourself to see what's right, what's really in the highest best, what's really in alignment with your highest evolution in this moment, this is the training. This is life training us
Yeah.
to find our purpose, to
Mm.
be in alignment, and to really act from the deepest sense of love and compassion for the whole
Mhm.
that we feel naturally. And how that can be best acted out in our life, considering our age and stage and willingness, and all of these things come in.
Yeah.
And it would be not mindful of our intention to ignore any of them.
Mhm.
They're all important. So,
I thought I was in alignment.
well, yes, that's what alignment is. We think we're in alignment,
Yeah.
and, you know, parts are.
Yeah.
There's no denying that there are there, but all of us have work to do,
Mhm.
and life comes along and
Right.
shows us that work,
Yeah.
whether we want it or not.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, you know, alignment is a moving target.
Mm. Yeah.
And the alignment is not with something out there. You know, we don't need anybody's approval, you know, in the way we're talking about approval.
Yeah.
But that alignment has to be discovered internally. And some battles are worth it and some are not.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much. It's very helpful.
You're so welcome.
Okay, dear. Love you so much.
Love you so much. Value this connection so greatly.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Mm. How may we serve further this morning? We welcome your questions. Hmm. Well, clearly, this is a time of great change, internally and externally for all of us. Things are happening. The world is changing quickly. Our environment is speaking to us loudly. How may we serve you? So this idea of alignment with our deepest inner purpose is not just about how we act in the world, but it's about how we experience ourselves as a human being. This is the most important thing, to discover our capacity to love ourselves, first of all. It is not narcissistic to love yourself. It's the only way to gain the capacity to love another, or to begin to understand what compassion really is. Because if we don't have compassion for ourselves, how can we possibly expect to have anything resembling compassion for another person? Because we don't know what it is until we experience it ourselves, until we acknowledge our failures and love them too. Because who becomes a success without failing millions of times? And compassion is allowing that failure and celebrating it as we become more competent at loving ourselves. Our biggest failures are our self-condemnations. Not necessarily because our actions are in themselves bad, but because our matrix of belief has labeled us as bad because we do certain things that we haven't examined whether they're good for us or bad for us. We've just taken in the judgment of our matrix of belief, and we behave as though it's real. But once we begin to examine that matrix of belief, then we see how much of it is geared to keep us in fear and self-rejection. Because one who is fearless and full of self-love and self-respect is not so easy to control in this world. And so the idea that we must be constantly in self-rejection is a way that we have learned to be controlled by a belief system that keeps us less than. As we examine this matrix of belief that we have, that most of us share, because we were given to it by our peers, our elders, our schools, our religious institutions, everywhere we were educated as tiny beings, we were essentially told that it was best to be in fear and that we had to live up to certain elements of the matrix of belief that required self-rejection on a regular basis. As adults, we get to question everything. We get to start over with our matrix of belief and begin to reject that which would have us reject ourselves, that which would keep us in fear constantly and tell us that we are less than and undeserving of alignment with the God that exists within us. Our own divinity is available to each and every one of us as we come into alignment with our highest self. When we talk about self-discovery, that's what it means. It means alignment with the highest that already exists within us, waiting for our attention on it long enough for it to reveal itself to us. Waiting for us to love the love itself, which is within us, until we become that. From that place, we are centered. We understand love. We understand compassion. We understand what it is to be a mature human being. Any mature human being fails all the time as they learn the path to becoming a successful spiritual warrior inside themselves. Our most immediate and intimate playing field is inside ourselves. As we embrace with love every aspect of our matrix of belief that would have us believe that we're less than and unworthy of becoming self-aware, of becoming our true highest self. These experiences are available to all of us. It is our matrix of belief which create the limitations that keep us feeling separate from the all of the all that is, from divine matrix, which has its own logic of love that remains to be discovered by our inner conquest. Conquest is not the only word to describe what a spiritual warrior does internally. But Ho'oponopono is one of the fundamental practices that we can call on to bring ourselves into alignment when we discover our self-hatred. to embrace that self-hatred with love, we speak directly to our highest self with Ho'oponopono, which is, I'm sorry. We're saying I'm sorry to our highest self because we're not completely in alignment with the love that we are. We're not apologizing to some other. Or some idea. We are apologizing directly to our highest. I'm sorry. Thank you for showing me that which needs to be healed. So I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. As we love the love that we are. And we just keep saying it to ourselves until we heal that aspect of our fear and or self-rejection. We can use nurturing pose as we put our hands over our heart and over our solar plexus and give ourselves the love that we need. We have everything we need to heal. We don't need the blessing of some other. And we hold ourselves the way we would a tiny child, which is probably how old we were when we were convinced that we needed to hate ourselves. We hold ourselves and we love ourselves into love, peace, joy, and gratitude, which are the words that begin to reveal to us that which is beyond words, that is our fundamental nature, our fundamental ground of being, is beyond three-dimensional reality, but it is pure love. How may we serve further?
A very brief question came in that was obviously a follow-up on something you were saying, but it just says, and internal changes.
Internal changes are the ones, internal challenges are the things that come to alert us to the possibility of internal change. External challenge, internal challenge. These are the same. An external challenge is not a challenge unless it challenges us internally. That's what we're saying. So when we are challenged by our experience, internal or external, our first response, as soon as we can manage it, is to get quiet, really quiet. And see what it is we are really feeling. Just ask, what am I feeling? And we might get 10 responses. I'm afraid, I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm wounded. So you pick the one that's primary in the moment, that just has the most energy that it's holding. You hold it close with gratitude because this is a part of yourself that has arisen to receive attention. And most of the time, these parts of ourselves that arise to receive attention are arising because they were greeted with humiliation, sarcasm, rejection, negativity by our external world when we were a child. And so these wounds remain to be brought into harmony by the adult in us, which is cultivating the highest possible for any human being. We could talk about that as love and compassion. But these words are felt experience, they're not just concepts. And to get to the felt experience from the concept requires that we allow our attention to drop from between our ears to the center of our chest, to the middle of our belly, to the tip of our tailbone, and all the way to the ground, and all the way up to the third eye, the top of our head, and the place where our fingertips touch at the top of our halo. From that state of awareness, love and compassion to ourselves and others becomes available. Because from that state of awareness, there is no other. There is only one. And that one is both love and compassion and encompasses all of the whole of it as we move from third dimensional reality into fifth dimensional reality, where love and compassion are the ground of our reality. Now, the numbers of dimensions are really irrelevant. It's just kind of a way of trying to bring three-dimensional understanding into the world where a fifth dimensional evolutionary possibility can be seen from a three-dimensional language. It's not really imaginable from third dimensional reality. But our language can't encompass anything more than linear. So how do we point to what it is and where it is we're going, to what it is we want to become? So we do the best we can with three-dimensional language. We hope this makes sense. We welcome your questions.
So I think, so the topic is bringing up those who've transitioned.
Mhm.
And it's, the chat says, could you please let John know that he is light and divine and that we all love him in case he did not hear me. Thank you. He transitioned on Wednesday.
So let's do a practice with all of us together going to the Annassa temple. And we will, once we arrive, invite John to sit with us and be informed of his true identity as love and light. So take your attention inside. And we go to the white room. There is a window in the room, kind of a gauze curtain. It's a beautiful day, and there is a slight breeze rustling that curtain. We're dressed in very comfortable clothes. We walk to the door, open the door, and step outside into a bright sunny day. We look to our left, and there's a beautiful meadow with wildflowers. It brings joy to our heart. And we look ahead of ourselves, and there is a pine forest with a path. And we walk down the path in this pine forest on our way to the Annassa temple. Annassa is a soul group of angelic spirit guides that have made themselves available for our spiritual education. We walk down this path with a feeling inside ourselves of excited anticipation. We can feel the sun on our face as we walk through the trees. We'll feel the sun and the shade and the sun and the shade. And the joy of being in nature. The feeling of the soft pine needles under our bare feet. We come around a corner in the path and we see the temple, an 8-sided structure with a dome off in the distance. As we come closer, we notice that there is a brook between us, a bubbling brook, and then a patch of grass. And then the Annassa temple. We understand that we're to wash our feet and drop anything, any reservations, any negativity, anything into that water as we cross. And when we're ready, we step up onto the grass and dry our feet. And then we take a minute to sit quietly and pull our intention together inside of ourselves to invite this person into the presence of the Annassa temple to be informed that he is love and light. So we walk to the door, open the door, step in, and we see a chair for each of us. We walk to our chair, sit in it, and invite John to sit in the empty chair that's left. As he arrives, we welcome him. And we inform him of his true identity as love and light. All of us get to choose our identity in any moment. When we choose love and light, we become the highest possible for a human being. This is always an opportunity. So we hold our feeling of love and light and we expand it to include John. We inform him that he will be taken to a place where when it's time, he will look through the book of his life and the blueprint he agreed to before this life and learn. This is not about punishment. This is about love, joy, transcendence, and understanding of the whole. We each agree to our life before we come. And then we have free will as we meet the challenges that we've undertaken. And when this life is over, we will reevaluate in connection with our highest. We will redesign our next blueprint and begin again. We impart this understanding to him along with the energetic experience of himself as pure light and love. We allow him to take in this information. And inform him that when he is ready, he can continue on his journey. He is thanking us and moving forward. When you're ready, acknowledge your gratitude for participating in the Annassa temple. Feel yourself as love and light. Express your gratitude in whatever way feels right to you. And when you're ready, you can step outside the temple and begin your journey back to the white room. When you're ready, bring your attention back to this plane and we'll continue. How may we serve further? Thank you all for participating in that. It was quite beautiful. How may we serve further? Andrew.
I guess resistance and procrastination. Obviously, something you really don't want to do, but for me, it often even can be with something I do want to do. Like that, it's just this odd. It's not like even. It just doesn't happen or something, or it gets diverted.
Well, so the question is, how do we address our resistance and procrastination, even with the things we really want to do? You know, and this happens for all of us, from eating vegetables to doing our jobs to meditation to, I don't know, practicing a musical instrument. It's a good one for me. Everything that we know we want to do that's in our highest best, that, you know, we have resistance because we'd rather just do nothing, or who knows what that resistance is based in, but it's based in a kind of personal defiance against what we know is our highest best interest. So what do we do in those moments? You know, because for most of us, it's not life and death in this moment. And it seems like if we don't do it, the consequences won't be so horrible, at least for a while. So what do we do? Well, the first thing is not to get heavy about it, because understand that there is a time and a place for every kind of energy and every kind of resistance and every kind of fulfillment. And that alignment means exactly that we are paying attention to our inner. A lot of our problems, in quotes, that we perceive as problems are because our matrix of belief would have us ignore our inner. at the expense of completing the outer in this task-oriented, hamster wheel that our life in a commercial capitalistic society often becomes. And so there is some internal resistance that we all have to that hamster wheel. And so when our life starts to feel like we're on a hamster wheel, then, a lot of this resistance is generated from that experience and from a childhood of, endless hoops to jump through to get to further hoops to jump through to get to further hoops to jump through, depending on what our academic and social and career requirements or personal requirements in managing other people in a home and cooking and all the domestic responsibilities that we all have to face. So all of these things generate resistance. So the first thing is not to get too heavy about it. Acknowledge it. Look at the time frame you have and do what you can with whatever it is. Do what you can. And that there will be a feeling in you. A couple of things will happen. If you sit down and actually start doing the thing it is, then one of two things will happen. Either you will generate a momentum as you begin the task and get engaged in it that will help you to see your way through the task, or at least through making a dent in the task. And having made that dent, you may feel like that's enough and okay, I've done it for today, or I've done it for this part of the day and I'll come back to it later. That's one thing, is you don't get too heavy and you do what you can. And then you go heavy on the self-rewards for having done that. And by self-rewards, we're talking about, go for a walk and enjoy nature. So again, this may be another area of resistance, but if we can get ourselves in gear toward doing the things that truly make us happy, and most people feel better when they have some contact with nature, if it's not on fire outside of us, or if the air pollution isn't too bad, or, if we can be in nature and it's not life-threatening, then yes, do it. So, and then meditation. If we're too tired, mentally or physically, meditation becomes a real chore. Sometimes it's better to just sleep. But there are stages when meditation feels like a reward. And there are stages where meditation feels like it's a duty. And there's stages where meditation feels like punishment. And all of these stages are welcome. The thing about meditation that makes it really a part of our lives is to do it no matter what. And the easiest way to do that, well, for Rebecca, one of the easiest ways is to just have a habit. It takes 21 days to make a habit. And if you can find a part of your day where meditation fits almost no matter what, like you do it before you leave the house, you do it before you sleep, that can be a very loosely lived rule, that you meditate before you leave the house and before you sleep. And then you do it, even if you can only do it for 5 minutes, you do it. And like any other task, when you start to do it, you will either gain momentum or you will understand that this is not the moment to try to do that. but you have to at least try. That's how you make the habit, is you at least try. So you sit down, you take a deep breath, you try to center yourself. There are times when Rebecca was in medical school, one morning she came down to meditate. She bowed, put her head next to the floor. And the next thing that happened was the gong went off 45 minutes later. She fell asleep. And this happens. You know, this is life. We have busy lives. We have other demands, but we at least make the attempt. And sometimes it's quite comical what happens. And sometimes you might be exhausted and have the most amazing meditation you've ever had in your life, because all your resistance just disappeared in the exhaustion, and you were able to expand into a state of love that you previously never imagined possible. You never know what's going to happen when you sit down on your cushion. And so the more often you do it, the more likely it becomes that you will have a life-changing experience. But if you don't do it, it won't happen. That's pretty simple. But if you do it, every time you do it, you increase your odds of having a life-changing experience. So if you think of it that way, what have you got to lose anyway? Except a faulty matrix of belief. And maybe a lot of pain, unnecessary pain that we carry around with each other for years and years and years. We hope that answers your question. Mhm. How may we serve further?
Good morning, Rebecca. It's Margaret.
Good morning, Margaret. How you doing?
Doing okay, thank you.
Good.
I have a question. One of my sons is really struggling right now, and he does not have a practice, and you know, they're also different. And try as I might, not, you know, harshly or directly, to lead him to the cushion and a practice, and even just like an invitation to begin, he is stuck in his matrix of belief, and it's sorry, it's so painful for me to watch him struggle there and feel like I understand that holding space for him and going to the Annassa temple for him is maybe the best I can do to help him. But
Maybe the only thing you can do to help him.
if you have any other thoughts or insights, I would love to hear them, because it's just so hard.
Yes. Well, going to the Annassa temple and sharing your delight and your love for meditation and spiritual work and personal insight, sharing that with him in the Annassa temple is really the main thing you can do. Sharing your love for him and your desire for him to love himself. These are the things that have the most power, because what you're inviting when you invite a person to the Annassa temple is you're inviting their highest self. And so it's your house, your highest self, telling their highest self what's available. And that always has power, always has power. And then you can pray. And praying is slightly different. Praying is when you just give it to God. It's in a way the same, but in a way a little bit different. You offer your love to God and ask for divine intervention in the favor of his beingness. And these are all you can do. The more you try to talk about it, the more resistant he becomes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so you understand that and you just let go of the whole issue between the two of you in the spoken world, because for some reason it's come to a point where your intention regarding him is felt as unwelcome. And who knows why that dynamic exists between a parent and a grown child. But, and it may have to do with gender. You don't know what it has to do with, and it doesn't really matter, but you do know that that conversation has been blocked. Like the hand is up. Both hands are up. So you can only work in the unseen. And then when you are in contact, you can only love. And from that love, you completely reward good behavior and you completely ignore bad behavior.
Okay.
And you just become one of the pillars of love that is available to him whenever he needs it. You're just, a big drink of wonderfulness whenever he wants to connect to you. And we know you already do that. We're not saying you're not doing it. But do it consciously and forget about bringing him to God, to love, to anything that you know or any language you have for it, because he has to discover it in his own way, in his own time. And the only way you can participate is from the unseen. Anything that you do in the seen world will create a bigger obstacle.
I think one of the most challenging things for me with our relationship is that I see his matrix of belief, and I, of course, want the best for him. And then it's really hard for me when he just continues to perpetuate that cycle and calls me and, to complain or, and so I'm torn between, being the loving mother to just listen and being the loving mother to say, it's up to you to change the situation. I'm here for you and I'll do whatever I can, but you do know what I mean? When people just keep complaining about the same thing and they don't do anything to change it. And it's a little different when it's a friend or someone because there's more of a separation, but when it's one of your children, it's just so hard.
How many times have you had that conversation with him where you tell him the truth?
Only a handful, because I don't want to push him away either.
Right. So what happens when you do that?
He does receive it. It takes him a couple days, but he does receive it. And things change maybe for a little bit, but then the cycle repeats. And if I just need to let go of it, I can do that. I was just wondering, it's hard, but I was just wondering if there was any other suggestion that you might have. Because it's hard on me.
Well, yes, you're watching, periods of self-harm
Yes.
due to matrix of belief.
Right.
Well, you know, different things are required in different moments. And so for now, you know, stick with the Annassa temple and make sure that he initiates the conversation for the most part. Because any change has to come from him. And this is why when you do inspire him to change, it doesn't last.
Right.
But you have to create a space where he really wants your opinion. And so what we see is that you're offering it too soon.
Okay.
He has to come to a place where he is dying for the information to know how to change. You know, where he really wants to make the change himself, and he's looking for information about how to do that. But he can't take in that information until he's ready. And so for you, your own prayer is to see the moment where your intervention is welcome. Because this is the frustration. The frustration is not knowing when and how to communicate.
And the frustration is also in wanting to hold my own boundary of not listening to the repetitive complaining, and also not wanting to push him away by or make him feel like I'm not there because I don't want to hear the same thing over and over and over if he's not going to do anything to make that shift. Does that make sense?
Yes. But if you're bored with it, imagine how bored he is with it, because he doesn't get any respite. He's stuck in that place.
So I should just hear him out.
Hear him out, let him do it, and know that if you're bored, he's got to be too.
Okay.
And the more you know, sort of keep giving it back to him, but in sort of a contained way, because you don't take it on.
No.
You just give it back to him, and then he's stuck with it. And eventually it's like being in a room full of garbage, you know, and you don't clean the garbage for him. You just let it pile up until he gets to the point where he's like, God, this room is full of garbage. I got to clean, you know, and because, you know, you can't do it for him his whole life.
I can't.
Yeah. So you be available, but if you get to a point where you can't listen anymore, you tell the truth. You say, I really love you, but I have to go do this other thing now. There's no rejection in it. You just say the truth. And then you go do that other thing. That's not rejecting, but you neither do the work for him nor tell him how to do it because he can't hear it. So you remain available and loving and in a way uncompromising. And then you can be at peace with yourself, and you continue to work in the Annassa temple, in the unseen. So you're working as hard as you can in the unseen to give him opportunities, to make those opportunities available for him. But you can't tell him to take advantage of the opportunities because he's too old to hear you.
True. Very true.
So
Thank you.
you're so welcome. What a dilemma. Oh, so here we are. It's 11:23. Let's meditate a little bit before we go. Okay, so this will be open eye for the next 10 minutes or so. Feel free to stay as long as you want. We'll probably go over the 10 minutes. But And you can receive however you want. You can participate with open eyes or closed eyes or however you feel comfortable. We're not going to speak through this. We're just going to transmit. So thank you all for coming. We have loved being here. And let's meditate. Thank you so much for coming. We love this. Till next time. Bye for now.